Good afternoon and welcome to the virtual presentation regarding the Town of Holly Springs ADA Transition Plan. My name is Harrison Wenchel and I'll be your presenter today. We're thankful for your participation and highly encourage you to use the chat feature at towards the bottom right of your screen for any comments or questions that you might have for the project team. Closed captioning options are available in the bottom right corner of your screen. Alternative materials are also available upon request. Our ADA transition plan team is made up of myself, Kristi Moore with the Town of Holly Springs, and Doug Taylor with Stewart. This project has been going on for since last year, and the Town of Holly Springs retained the services of Stewart in the development of an ADA transition plan to ensure all town programs and services are accessible to persons with disabilities. The transition plan will identify the facilities, programs, and services that are compliant and non-compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act and will provide action items for how the town can bring those non-compliant items into compliance. The required development of the ADA transition plan enables the town to remain eligible to receive federal funding for use in projects that will ultimately benefit all residents of the growing Holly Springs community. Now, according to the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, access to civic life by people with disabilities is a fundamental goal, and in order to ensure that the goal is met, Title II states and requires that state and local governments make their programs and services accessible to persons with disabilities. This requirement extends not only to physical access at government facilities, programs, and events, but also to policy changes that governmental entities must make to ensure that all people with disabilities can take part in and benefit from the programs and services of state and local governments. In addition, governmental entities must ensure effective communication, including the provision of necessary auxiliary aids and services so that individuals with disabilities can participate in civic life. Now, the project team has had help from the Town of Holly Springs staff as well as Stewart staff members, and the roles and responsibilities for the Town of Holly Springs are characterized as project oversight, data collection, public involvement, and the ongoing maintenance of the ADA plan as a living document. So once this plan is approved by town council and finalized, it becomes what's called a living document, and the town will be responsible on a 5-year basis for updating the plan, but on a more frequent, on an annual basis, evaluating the existing non-compliant items and seeing which action items have been accomplished since the prior year, all in an effort to eventually have all facilities within the town be compliant under Title II of the ADA. Now, there's a lot of data collection that goes into an ADA transition plan. We've had a lot of help from, again, town staff and Stewart staff, but part of the data collection is the evaluation of programs, policies, and procedures that cover categories under administrative requirements, effective communication, general non-discrimination, website accessibility, and program accessibility. There have also been 10 miles of asphalt and boardwalk greenways evaluated, and under or within the public right-of-way, which covers the sidewalk and curb ramps. The project team has a GIS app that allows real-time data to be collected in the field, so we are able to pinpoint the exact location of hazards that are identified, as well as curb ramps, both compliant and non-compliant. So 196 curb ramps have been collected thus far, and 48 hazards have been identified. Hazards referring to anything from a minor trip hazard or debris covering the sidewalk or branches overhanging that can be done under general maintenance, or something like a driveway having the grade of a driveway slope being too steep. Another crucial component of the data collection for the transition plan is an online survey which the town developed. It's an 11-question survey. So far, we've gotten over 300 survey responses as of today. And I'll talk about the online survey shortly. And the public comment period and the survey itself are currently live. I will post the link to the survey in the chat at the end of the presentation. Should also be there from the previous presentations. When talking about the various stages and steps that go into ADA transition planning, we're about halfway through currently. Some of the crucial steps in the beginning have already been taken care of, such as identifying key staff and the roles and responsibilities of everybody involved. The town also published and posted a public notice to notify the general public of the requirements under federal law. A grievance procedure was also developed, which allows reporting of discrimination on an ADA-related issue. That has transitioned into the public involvement piece, which is where we're at today. So public involvement essentially is broken into the online survey, the public presentation today, and the outreach to various disability organizations that have stakeholders that have a say on accessibility issues in the town to get their input as well. A detailed evaluation of existing barriers to programs and facilities are part of the self-evaluation and part of the larger data collection that gets all synthesized into the transition plan. And essentially that boils down to determining action items that the town can take to take those identified non-compliant facilities and how they can make them compliant for future years. So action items are broken into short-term, mid-term, and long-term priorities. Short-term priorities are projects that typically take a year or less to complete, such as striping an accessible parking space, replacing the hardware on a door, or trimming trees that may be encroaching into a pedestrian access route. A midterm priority is a project typically completed within 1 to 3 years. An example of a midterm priority project is the replacement or adjustment of water fountains, or installing grab bars within restrooms, or even installing handrails on a pedestrian wheelchair ramp leading to the entrance of a building. And a long-term priority project is usually 3 to 5 years or longer. Those are more permanent changes, such as a structural change to a building, or redesigning a bathroom to accommodate adequate movements, or creating an accessible route within a facility or to the entrance of a facility. Now, Title II of the ADA states a public entity shall provide an opportunity to interested persons, including individuals with disabilities or organizations representing individuals with disabilities, to participate in the development of the transition plan by submitting comments. A copy of the transition plan shall be made available for public inspection. So, as I've discussed, the three main components are the outreach to the general public and to the stakeholders that represent persons with disabilities, the online survey, which I'll go into in a minute, and the public presentation. Another part of the data collection are the town facilities, which will be evaluated for compliance under the ADA as well. And the facilities that will be evaluated include Jones Park, Veterans Park, Sugg Farm, Womble Park, Ting Park, Hunt Recreation Center, Bass Lake Retreat Center, the Cultural Center, and Town Hall. Now, as part of the public involvement for the ADA transition planning process, the online survey that was developed is an 11-question survey. It is currently active. You can see the link there on the slide. It is also posted in the chat. And the online survey will be live until January 15th, 2021. That's when our public comment period will end. So we highly encourage you to fill out the survey if you haven't already, or take that link and forward it to friends or family that you know may have an interest in the transition plan. The online survey covers various components pertaining to the transition plan, such as the level of accessibility to town sidewalks, accessibility challenges or obstacles throughout town, specific streets or intersections of concern, accessibility to town buildings or facilities, and the prioritization of where improvements should be made. So on the right-hand side of the slide, there are several screenshots that I'll go through just to give you an idea of what to expect when you visit the site. Here we have the cover page of the survey. We actually have an interactive map where you can drop points or draw lines and actually note where you think the improvements need to be made within town as they relate to the ADA, so that you can call attention to these, so that the project team can review them and use those as part of the development for the transition plan. And we also have questions that relate to obstacles or challenges for walking or navigating intersections, and some self-identification questions as well. As mentioned previously, municipalities are required by federal law, Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act, to have a plan in place to accommodate those who may use public facilities. The town remains eligible for federal funding by doing so. The FHWA requirements apply to areas within the public right-of-way, and they do not include any private developments or sites. So the images to the bottom right of the slide are examples of very general compliant facilities, specifically curb ramps within the public right-of-way. On the image on the left shows a truncated dome with a shortened distance that a pedestrian would have to use in order to cross the road. Now, as far as next steps for the project, again, we are in the public participation / ongoing data collection phase. So in January 2021, we'll be compiling all public comments that we've received. In the spring of 2021, we'll be wrapping up the facility evaluations and the remaining right-of-way data collection on the curb ramps and the hazards. And then in the spring to summer, we are planning to finalize the transition plan, the draft, and bring the final draft to present to town council for approval and adoption. And once the plan is finalized and approved, the town will be responsible every 5 years for updating the action items in the plan, or the compliant or non-compliant facilities. And typically on an annual basis, those facilities would be reviewed for existing conditions. Now, we have recorded today's meeting, which will be posted on the town's YouTube page at a later date. And again, if you have not done so already, we highly encourage you to take the online survey or to send it out to people you know. And if you have any further input regarding the ADA transition plan, we encourage you to contact Kristi Moore with the town of Holly Springs. She's the town's ADA coordinator. Her contact information is listed there on the slide. Thank you again for attending, and we look forward to hearing from you.